Okay, well, welcome everyone. My watch says 3 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. I'm Dr. Kelly Hedgepath, and welcome to the Lown Women's Center weekly webinar. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Dr. Lee Lewis is here as well. Say hello. So today, we are so fortunate to have Lynette Culverhouse talking about stress-free living. Welcome, Lynette. Lynette is a life coach and has worked in coaching and leadership in a number of capacities over the past few decades. And for the last few years has really been promoting a life design program that she gives specific advice to help all of us in reducing our stress and really focusing on how well we live. So Lynette, thank you for being here with us today. Please take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly Hedgepath, for that introduction and for giving me this opportunity. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm super excited to share this program. It's had a very profound effect on my life. And I hope that you will find some benefits from today's presentation. I just want to say that in the photograph there, that's my daughter living her life by design, fully embracing the fullness of her life. Such a joy to watch people as they live their life by design. So I'd like to start by just telling you a little bit of my story to give you some context. I grew up in post-war England with parents who experienced the trauma of war firsthand, which meant alcoholism in my family's case, depression, anger, as well as poverty. I was given no tools to cope with the complex emotions and circumstances of my life. So when I was a young adult, alcohol and drugs became a solution for me. And that worked for a while in terms of overcoming some of the deficiencies in my skill set at handling life until it didn't work anymore. So when I sobered up at age 30, I was a train wreck. I got into recovery, and that was when my life began to turn around. I did what people do. I got married, I had children, I had a career, went on vacations, had friends in a social life. And during that time, I challenged many of the assumptions I'd grown up with. Particularly those around my health care. So when I was diagnosed with heart disease about 15 years ago, I had plenty of places to get input. And believe me, I tried them all. Homeopathy, acupuncture, Chinese herbs, I ran the gamut. And what I realized as I traversed the terrain of alternative practitioners is that this is my heart, it's my body, and it's my choice how I treat it. So in my journey of finding healthcare practitioners, I'm always very careful to select people who respect that about me. And I've been very successful at that, fortunately. So my heart for me is more than just a physical organ that pumps blood around my body. It is that, and I need to recognize that, but it's also the center of my being. And I see it that way, and I see the many ways that the stresses and pressures of life affect my heart, because it's where my life is coming from. So to me, recovery has involved more than just taking care of the physical organ. it's involved taking care of my whole being. So that means pursuing a healthy diet, exercise, making sure that I'm not putting undue stress on myself, and just making sure that my thinking and my attitude towards myself is one of health and wholeness rather than disease and unwellness. I think that a lot of the ways that we think can actually manifest into reality if we don't keep that thinking positive. So where does life design come in? So I was coming to the end, towards the end of a long teaching career, and landed in a life design program. And I'm telling you, it shot my life to a whole different level of being, of living. You know, I'd always been fulfilled as a teacher. I was happy. I did a good job. I enjoyed it. But there was always this little sense of there's some bigger piece of work in my life I need to do. And I was never, you know, quite clear about what that was, but there was always this sort of sense of that. And I knew that in retirement, I wasn't the kind of person that wanted to sit around and be on vacation for the rest of my life. I wanted to be engaged in life. And so life design came along just at the right moment. And when the opportunity came to do the training to become certified as a coach, I jumped right in with it. And you know, it has shifted so much for me, you know, in terms of relationships, how I deal with challenging situations, how I experience my life on a day-to-day basis, the decisions I make and the choices I make. Life design is a way of life. And, you know, it's a program that I took in order to launch a new way of life. And it's so exciting to me, you know, teaching it keeps me on track, but it's also like an incredibly rewarding experience to walk people through the program and to getting to know themselves on a deeper level and getting to live a more fulfilled, stress-free, happy life.
Lynette, your voice is coming in and out a little bit. Maybe I can just have you lean in a little bit to your laptop.
Okay. So what is life design? Whoops. So life design is a program that guides people through a structured process to intentionally design their lives to be in alignment with who and what they want to be. So this workshop is an introduction to this program and lays out the benefits and rewards that can be enjoyed by living life by design. If we think about, you know, our education and our growing up years, and I particularly think about, you know, our teenagers who go to school and have are told from the age of 5 through college, they're told what to learn, how to learn it, when to learn it. They're bound by rules, all set from outside themselves. Nobody ever invites them to consider who they want to be in the world and what are the things that are important to them. So this is a process that, you know, even for people of any age, can do that and begin to live the life of their dreams. The program uses a formula to help you design your life based on your passions and values. You learn how to manage the stresses of life so they no longer feel stressful. Make choices that you can feel great about. Navigate and respond effectively to challenging situations, and manage conflict all while experiencing a calm and excited way of being. So that's pretty amazing. It's almost a guarantee that those things will become real. So let's go through the steps of life design. In our lives, we require physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental wholeness in order to feel fulfilled. It takes work to keep ourselves whole when there are things in our lives that are incomplete. To exist with integrity, whole and complete, is our goal. The Strong Foundation program provides a means to live one's life with integrity. So incompletions are those physical, emotional, or mental items that are in some way unresolved in the current moment. So completing a thorough inventory uncovers the areas of unfinished business. So some examples from my life when I was going through the Strong Foundation inventory, where I realized that I didn't have a will and I needed to have a will. I had a very sloppy, messy filing system and always had a hard time finding my papers. So that needed to get cleaned up. Another one was, I had a closet full of clothes that I never wore, and so I needed to clean those out. So things like that are like, foundational day-to-day things take up space in our mind. They take up space. We're thinking about them. On some level, they're occupying space. By cleaning out and finishing that unfinished business, we're able to devote our mind to bigger things, the important things in life, the things that we really want to be doing with our life. So the next step is identifying your core values. And most people, feel like, yeah, they have values, but do people really know what their core values are? Like people might say, well, I value my family, I value love, I value my work, but we get to think about this more deeply and to really identify the top core values, the values that inspire us to move and be in action. And then once we have our values, we create a mission statement. And, once again, people think that mission statements are what organizations use. People can develop their own individual mission statements. So I'll tell you what my mission statement is. I am a radiant beam of sunshine, nourishing the garden of life, sowing seeds of unity, peace, love, and justice, creating beauty, and lighting the fire of infinite possibility in human hearts. And, the process of writing my mission statement, was a really, it wasn't something I did overnight. It was a reflective, deep process. And just really felt like I uncovered who I really was, that somehow for years and decades I'd been sort of hidden by what I thought the world out there wanted me to be. By creating my mission statement, I uncovered who I wanted to be. So every morning when I wake up, I say my mission statement to myself to remind myself who I'm going to be today. And then after creating a mission statement, we work on a vision statement. And a vision statement is a statement of how your life will look in 3 to 5 years. And once you have the vision statement, we set about establishing goals and actions in order to reach that vision. Because if you just have the vision, but you're not taking any action to get closer to it, then it's not going to come to be. And then throughout it all, raising consciousness. Let's talk about consciousness. So what is consciousness? Keep slipping. Sorry. We use this sort of spiral model to help us understand consciousness. And I like to think at the bottom level, people are in the survival level. And when people are at this level, they tend to be victims of what's happening outside of themselves. So they're in constant reactive mode to whatever the circumstances are in their life or whoever the people are in their life. They're not empowered. They tend to be a little hopeless, sometimes depressed, often very angry, you know, not a comfortable place to be. I've been there, and it's not a comfortable place to be, I know. And then as we go up the spiral, we get to the stress level, which is a lot of the same things as the survival level. But at the stress level, people are functioning, and they're functioning and experiencing stress because they're not in alignment. They're functioning because they have to function, not because they're in alignment with who they want to be and how they want to be. So they're still very influenced by outside circumstances, things outside of themselves. And surprisingly, most people function at the bottom two levels of the spiral. As we go up the spiral, we get to the transformation level, where people have are starting to sort of have an inner sense of who they are and how they want to be, and live from a place more of compassion and commitment, and tend to live with a sense of optimism and hope. You know, the glass is half full rather than half empty. And then the top level is transcendence, where people live with unconditional love, equanimity, peace, and joy all the time. That is a level that I don't think anyone does all the time. Maybe the Dalai Lama does. You know, I experience it from time to time, and it's a really wonderful feeling. Certainly when I'm in nature, I know the things I need to do in order to have that experience. And it's always a real joy. I don't know why this keeps doing this. One slide at a time. Okay, so let's talk about context versus content. So I like to think of this as the doing part of our life versus the being part of our life. So the context of our life is related a lot to our consciousness. So I like to think of the context as the attitudinal or energetic environment inside of which anything lives. So we live inside us, our own thinking, our own head, our own selves. And I think for a lot of people feel that they don't have the ability to change what goes on inside themselves, but we actually do. And it's made up of our attitudes, it's our values, our beliefs. Sometimes I think of it as our beat, like what are our beliefs, our emotions, our attitudes, and our thoughts. All of those things make up the context, the consciousness in which we live. Most often, context is not intentionally declared or designed. So thus, there's a constant undercurrent of uncertainty, which often leads to disharmony and a loss of power. So in life design, you get to create your own context. So yes, we actually do, and we can create our own attitudes, our own beliefs, our own values, our own thoughts. They're all within our control. And, you know, a lot of us feel we get judged or assessed by what we do in life. But what we do is much less important than how we are. So how are we being when we're doing? You know, we can be doing really a good piece of work, but if we're doing it with resentment and hostility and a lot of negative emotions, it won't be the same experience for us or for others around us than if we're doing it with love and commitment and dedication. So, so there's a lot of focus in life design on how we are being, because how we are being determines our experience of life. Oh, keeps doing that. Okay, so here's I'm going to give you some things that I want you to take away today. I slipped in a couple of my favorite sayings here. There's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that is your own self. You know, and you know, there have been times in my life, particularly as a parent, when I was certain that I could improve other people, my children or people in my family. Through experience, I've come to see that is so not true. That when I start doing that, I put a wedge in my relationships. So the only person I can improve is my own self. So that starts with awareness. We can't change what we can't see. So we need to develop a mindset that is how you think, what you say, how you feel, attitudes and beliefs. You know, on how you think, what influences our thinking. I say, you know, for me, I need to look at my energy or numbing me out. I need to think about what reading material I'm using, what I'm watching. Am I thinking negative thoughts about myself or others? Those are all things that contribute to a mindset that's not conducive to growth and peace and ease. What I say, I need to stop saying things like I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I don't think I can, or I don't have time. How you think and talk impacts your experience of life. How you feel. I'll tell you a little story about myself. Very early in my recovery from alcoholism, I had raging resentments going around in my head and raging anger, and you know, I was literally a train wreck. But the day came when I couldn't stand my own thoughts. I just couldn't stand them anymore. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And what I found worked for me was reciting the Serenity Prayer over and over again. I don't know if people know the Serenity Prayer, but it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, you know, whether it's something like that, or whether it's Humpty Dumpty or a poem or a song, you know, when I find myself harboring negative thoughts or toxic ideas or things that I know that drain my energy, I just find something to say on top of those thoughts to dull them out. Because I know those thoughts can just pull me down. So attitudes and beliefs. I believe that all living things are connected. Somehow there's a connection, that there's an energy that runs through all of life. And that if I harbor a negative attitude or belief about myself or someone else, that impacts everyone around me. So I have to look out for all of those things in order to maintain a healthy mindset. And then also being aware of the beliefs and attitudes and conversations of others. Like if others are engaging in like negative, gossipy stuff, do I want to be around it? Is that going to impact me? That's another way I kind of take care of my mindset. And then the skill set is actions and behavior. So it's what you do, when you do it, and how you do it. So are you managing your energy, your sleep, eating healthy food? Are you pacing yourself? And, you know, timeliness, things like timeliness and punctuality. Are you progressing, moving forward with your life without procrastinating? Procrastinating is one of my biggest handicaps. I am a really good procrastinator. If it can be done tomorrow, I'll leave it till tomorrow. I've had to be quite disciplined with myself to get beyond that, because it can leave my life on hold rather than moving forward with my life. It can leave me feeling stuck. So I'm managing distractions. That's another one. I can easily get distracted, like by stupid stuff, online games. So I being aware of that and not letting it take over is really important. And then managing boundaries, being able to say no and being able to delegate is another skill set. Like I don't have to say yes to everything. There's no way I can do everything effectively. So there are some things that we have to say no to. And if I'm someone who has a hard time saying no, which I have been in my life, I'm not so much now. I always say to people, you know what, I'm not sure right now. Give me a moment, give me some time to think about it, and I'll get back to you. So, you know, if I'm not immediately able to say no or immediately clear about whether I can or can't do something, then I take the time I need to think about it and get back to them. And a tool set, you know, my favorite tool is a schedule. I mean, I say schedule everything. So I can look at my schedule in the morning and know what my day will be. Tool set might include an accountability partner, or a coach or a mentor or a friend that you can go to help you stay on track. Spending time with positive people is another tool in the tool set, not people who drain your energy. And another story from my life of, you know, this was just a remarkable experience for me. So, you know, I grew up in an alcoholic family, so I'm with two brothers, and it was quite dysfunctional. So the relationships in the family were not, you know, harmonious and easygoing. And one of my brothers was particularly difficult. He lives with a disability and is really, I think, lives in the bottom level of the spiral. He's a victim. And all my life, he and I have triggered each other and set each other off. And, you know, some time after I got into life design, and I would avoid him so that I wouldn't have to deal with the difficult, you know, the difficult interactions and the challenging energy that I felt around him. But there was an occasion sometime after I started living my life by design, when I was with him, and sure enough, I said something that set him off, and you know, we were heading down the path that we had gone hundreds of times before. And because of the tools that I had, I was able to hold myself back and be silent. And I said nothing at the time. And later on, when I had time with him on his own, I said, you know, in response to what I said, I had no idea that was going on for you. Tell me more about it. And I'd never done that with him before. You know, we'd always just go head on into the fight. And it shifted everything in our relationship. It's not that he, you know, is living his life any differently, but in our relationship with each other, it shifted so much, at least for me. I hope it did for him too. And that was just a simple tool that I learned from life design. So spending time with positive people and not people who drain your energy. And if you have people who drain your energy in your life, pace yourself. You know, do it a little bit at a time. Don't let it so much time that you feel like it imposes stress on you. Reading uplifting materials and books, watching uplifting movies and shows. So if you haven't watched Brené Brown's Call to Courage on Netflix, I highly recommend it. It's a totally amazing 2-hour, one-woman show, and every word of it is totally uplifting. It's amazing. You know, and then there's a ton of I have a little book here I can show you if people are interested at the end. But, you know, filling your mind with positive, inspiring is, you know, makes a huge difference to our experience of life. Sorry, this keeps happening. I don't know what to do about it. It jumps. So the 5 E's of living life with purpose.
Lynette, we're having a little trouble hearing you. Maybe if you...
Somebody is not muted.
Is that better?
Yeah, let's try that.
I can lean in a little. So living life with purpose. What do we mean by purpose? So what is our purpose in life? From the position of life design, all of life, all living things, the purpose is to grow. So in life design, the purpose of life is to grow and become the best version of ourselves that we can be. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
For the most part, I think there's sometimes it fades in and out, but
Okay.
that's okay. I think keep going.
Okay. So yeah, the purpose of life is for us to grow, right? For plants, it's to grow. For trees, it's to grow. Everything grows. And so for humans, the purpose is also to grow and to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. I love this. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. That's George Bernard Shaw. The 5 E's are establishing an empowering context. We've talked about context. Letting your being guide your doing gives you a sense of personal power and focuses you on what really matters to you. Execute a goals and action plan. Be in action. Don't procrastinate. Get it done. That's huge, you know, do all of your goal planning in writing, always, without exception. It's, you know, if it's written down, it gets done. If it's living in your head, it's taking up space in your head. You know, and then breaking down the bigger goals into manageable, smaller goals, and everything getting written down so that you're taking it out of your mind, and it's, you know, it's documented, so you don't have to carry it around like this needs to be a filing cabinet. Write a list of all the smaller elements, the goals, and then schedule doing those small goals into a weekly calendar. And begin your actions with small, simple steps, like even doing just one thing a day. Pick one thing a day, so long as it is, you know, something that will bring you some sense of fulfillment and a sense of moving forward in your life. It's a good thing. Embracing powerful tools and structures. That goes back to the schedule. Finding routines that work for you, so that you are intentionally living rather than waiting for life to happen. Elevating with in addition to that, a support structure might be joining a spiritual community, or starting a support group of your own, or finding a group of friends to do something with that will help you stay on track. And then ensuring accountability, like using a coach or an accountability partner, or some people or person who can help you stay on track and keep you accountable for what you say you want to do. Another create a visual display of your progress. So, you know, it could be like a vision board, or you could have some other way of keeping track of what your goals are and how you're moving towards fulfilling them. So what can you do now? So right now, from today, you can do some things. So one of the things that has been essential for me is developing a mindfulness practice. The first thing I do every morning is I use Insight Timer, which is an app you can get on your phone. And you can time yourself from anything from 1 minute to however long you want to do it. And just to sit and be. And, you know, that's been so important to me. And I notice the difference when I don't do it. If I forget or I don't do it, things don't go so well in my day. That's a really important component. Also, there are a lot of online classes, and there are also a lot of books that help you understand mindfulness and how to use it in your life. And so you might want to try some of those. One that I can recommend is one, actually I can recommend two. One's called Beginning Mindfulness. And that's by Andrew Weiss. And then there's another one by Thich Nhat Hanh called Silence, which is also a great book. The Power of Quiet in a World Full of Noise. Eliminating stress. So, you know, I say, what can you do now? Well, that's not an easy thing to do, just to say, you know, eliminate stress. But find the things that help you feel calm and schedule them into your life. So for me, that might be taking a walk in the woods, or it might be doing an art project, or it's certainly at this time of year, it's spending time in my garden. But, you know, knowing the things that calm you down and help reduce stress, if you know what those are, then schedule them into your day. So you're doing a little something every day. Managing yourself rather than time. So the thing that people most often say about time is there's not enough of it. Well, I have news for you. There is the same amount of time today as there was 30 years ago, 100 years ago. The time doesn't change. What changes is how we manage ourselves in time. So pacing ourselves, and not knowing, you know, that how much we can realistically accomplish in a set amount of time. Writing everything in a schedule, here we go, that's the best tool. Getting everything into a schedule so that you can see visually what you have time for. So if you have stuff and somebody asks you to do something, and you look at your schedule and you see you don't have time, you can say no. If it's not in your schedule, it might not, and you're carrying it all in your head, you might not so easily be able to see that. Say no. Just say no to people, you know, practice it. If it's a hard thing to do, and I know for many people, it's really hard to say no when they ask them for something. And there are people, you know, I've had in my life who didn't like to take no for an answer. And I had to learn to say no anyway and deal with the consequences of that, because those people were draining me. And I don't need people, none of us needs people in our life who drain us. So learning to say no, it's not only doing yourself a favor, it's also doing them a favor, because they get to look at expectations too. Taking a moment to breathe. Breathing is really important. You know, and if I find myself, you know, in a fight or flight mode, always, if I stop and take a moment to breathe, it makes a huge difference. And in my teaching, when kids were, you know, they would get really angry with a friend, or something occurred that got them really upset, I would just get right on their level and just say, just breathe, and they would calm right down. So we forget that, you know, that's right here. We have that all the time. And have a friend, a mentor, or a coach who will help you stay on track. So what I can offer is you've got some takeaways. So if you can take some of this away, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to give it to you, and hope that you will take some of these you know, important steps towards making your life more stress-free and more ease. But I can also walk you through the whole program. And it's set up either as a one-on-one coaching program. So I would walk you through all the steps of the program, and that would involve 9 one-hour phone sessions over a period of 3 months. So it would be 3 weeks in a row and then 1 week off. So, you know, the work is pretty intense. So we take that week off to let some of the ideas settle in and see how that affects your life. So that's the one-on-one program, and then a Zoom group class, which would be 6 1.5-hour sessions. And I believe that Dr. Kelly Hedgepeth is going to send out information about how to register for those, either one or the other, whichever appeals to you if you're interested in doing the whole program. I would love to take you through it. I always love taking people through it. It's just a pleasure for me. And this is me and my daughter right before we jumped off that cliff and paraglided over Lake Annecy in France. And, you know, it was after I was living my life by design. And she and I are adventurers together. So she's a great adventure partner. And here I have some contact information. If you would like to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I have my email address, my Facebook page, my website, and my LinkedIn page. And thank you so much for giving me this time. I so appreciate talking with you.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynette. Really inspirational. I think just overall, such an important topic for all of us to hear, and especially to be reminded of during these uncertain times where we're all striving to really have a new normal. It's interesting time too, because I think we all are doing some self-reflection. So I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to be thinking about life design.
Mm-hmm.
It is particularly important for cardiac patients too, to recognize the mind-heart connection, because as you alluded to, that is really a profound connection, and most certainly our mental state in stress has so much impact on our cardiovascular system, and we really have the science to support that, and a practice of mindfulness or yoga or meditation has really, the science behind that has really come a long way in the last decades in terms of us understanding how that affects our blood pressure and our blood sugar and our risks of cardiovascular disease. So, so I think this is really an important message. Thank you. I do have a couple of questions, so maybe I'll start and just since we have a little bit of time, read some of those. And of course, on the survey that goes out, we also will have a direct link to Lynette's website in order to register for her class if people are interested. The first question I have is, do you have recommendations on dealing with negative family members? That seems loaded. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I have them, and I talk, I do share what I'm doing, not in depth, because a lot of it is not, they're not able to assimilate it or understand it. But I pace myself. I definitely pace myself, particularly with this one brother I was talking about. I cannot spend too much time with him, and the time I do spend, we usually try and find some activity that we both enjoy doing together. You know, and I think that, you know, change starts with us. And for me, it's been reflecting on what is my part here? What part have I played in the past, and what part do I want to play in the future? And I think just taking some time to reflect on it's some sort of small, tiny ways that you might be able to shift the way you are in those relationships. I have an example of a longtime friend that I have had conflicts with over the years. And we were out to dinner one time, and there was some conflict we were talking about, and she suddenly blurted out, I'm not interested in any more of your highfalutin, get well, do well things, and what ways of communicating, whatever it was. But it was a direct attack. And I just said, well, I don't want to be engaging in toxic communication. I want to be able to engage in a positive way and in a loving way. And I'm trying to figure it out for myself. So, and that shifted things. She immediately apologized, and we moved on. But, in the past, it would have been completely different, because I would have been triggered by that and I would be pulled in. So watching the ways that you get pulled in and trying to figure out a different way to respond.
And that's, I think, a good rule for meditation in each of our lives, to really have the ability to have that bird's eye view, so that we're not overly reactive to situations that we know are going to be difficult. There's a couple other questions. A question about how much or the role of meditation in life design, and maybe if there's different types of meditation you utilize.
Well, life design doesn't specifically teach meditation, but usually people end up engaging in some kind of mindfulness practice. So I think that, a big part of life design is awareness and an ability to notice what's going on inside ourselves. And I think that that is greatly facilitated through meditation, through taking time to sit and be quiet with ourselves and listen to our inner voices.
Good recommendations for all of us. I have another question that came in that says, I'm overwhelmed by all the changes I need to make. How do I take the first steps?
Well, sign up for life design. I would say, take one small step at a time. Just decide you're going to do one small thing each day and write it in your schedule and make sure it gets done. It's being in action. So while we're in action around our life, we can feel empowered about our life. If we're sitting and doing nothing, then we end up feeling powerless and stuck. So it's being in action. So whatever action it is, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just pick one tiny thing and schedule it and do it.
That's wonderful advice. So with that, I think we will conclude our session today. Lynette, I think there would be a room full of applause if we were all together. Today, it's so nice to have this community coming together each week. And Lynette, thank you for the inspiration. So look in your email inbox for a survey following today, and we hope to see everyone again next week. Be well.